The fuel pump relay is like the middleman of your vehicle's fuel system. It's the one flipping the switch to power up your fuel pump when needed. Every time you twist the key in your ignition, the relay kicks in, giving the fuel pump the juice it needs to pressurize the fuel in the rail, getting things ready for the engine to fire up. Now, these little guys can wear out or fail for a bunch of reasons. If they do, it's important to know what's up so you're not left stranded. That's why we'll dive into the common symptoms of a bad fuel pump relay, where to find it in your car, what it might cost to replace, and how you can figure out if it's the culprit. Let's start with spotting the signs, because catching it early can save you a lot of hassle. It's the Car Problems YouTube channel. Subscribe and let's get started. Check engine light on. The engine control module, or ECU, is like the brain of your car. It keeps a close eye on all the sensors to make sure they're giving accurate readings. If the ECU catches a sensor acting up and showing funky values, it flips on the check engine light to let you know something's wrong. Now, when it comes to a bad fuel pump relay, the check engine light is usually the first sign. The ECU checks the fuel pressure with a sensor, and if the relay fails and the fuel pressure drops suddenly, the ECU throws on the light and saves a trouble code for the issue. That code is like a clue to help diagnose the problem. It's a great reminder that modern cars are pretty smart at catching issues early. Engine stalling. If the fuel pump relay has bad solder joints inside, it might cut the connection out of nowhere. When that happens, it stops sending power to the fuel pump. No power means no fuel delivery, and that's bad news. The engine relies on proper fuel pressure to keep the combustion chambers happy and firing like they should. If the fuel pump isn't running right because the relay's on the fritz, your engine's going to shut down. That fuel pump is the hero, making sure the engine gets the right amount of fuel, but it needs the relay to back it up. So if the relay's acting up, the pump just can't do its job properly. No noise from the fuel pump on ignition. Here's a quick tip for you. When you switch the ignition on, pay attention to the rear of the car. You should hear a soft whirring sound, kind of like a tiny machine coming to life. That's the fuel pump getting busy, building up the pressure in the fuel rail. It's a good sign everything's working as it should. If you don't hear that noise, though, it could mean the fuel pump relay isn't doing its job. To double check, get close to the fuel tank and listen carefully for a couple of seconds after you turn the ignition. A quiet fuel pump could point to a relay problem that needs fixing. Better to catch it early before it leaves you stranded. Rough acceleration. Think of it like this. The fuel pump relay is the lifeline between the fuel pump and power. If it starts acting up, the pump won't work as it should, which means the engine isn't getting the fuel it needs, just like how the heart needs oxygen-rich blood to keep everything running. When the relay's on the fritz, fuel delivery to the combustion chamber suffers, and that could make your car hard to start, or worse, not start at all. But here's the deal. This isn't the only thing that can cause fuel flow issues. Something like a clogged fuel filter can create similar problems. So before replacing any parts, always take the time to diagnose it properly. A little effort up front can save you time and money in the long run. Engine is completely dead. If the fuel pump relay completely gives out, your engine could end up totally dead. No fuel pressure means the engine can't start, plain and simple. The relay's job is to supply power to the fuel pump, so it can build that all-important fuel pressure. Without it, the pump just sits there doing nothing. Now, as for where to find the fuel pump relay, it depends on the car. Most of the time, it's tucked inside a fuse box. This could be under the dashboard or sometimes in the engine bay. These fuse boxes are usually long, black boxes packed with other fuses and relays as well. Since every car is different, the exact spot might vary, so it's worth checking your vehicle manual. Replacement cost. The average fuel pump replacement cost is between $90 and $150, depending on the car model and labor costs. The parts may cost you between $20 and $50, while the remaining cost is labor. The fuel pump relay is a small electronic device easily acquired online or at the nearest spare parts shop. The fuel pump relay's replacement cost involves the cost of the parts and the labor cost that the mechanic would charge you. When considering the labor cost, it could be at least an hour of work or more in certain cases. The amount the repair shop charges you will depend on your mechanic's hourly pay rate or the per-hour cost. Other than the labor cost, The fuel pump relay is not a very expensive device, and you can buy one for $20 to $50 on average for most vehicles. Hope the information is helpful for you. If so, please press the like button and subscribe to the channel.